Have you ever felt like your partner isn't fully enjoying the intimate moments you share? Maybe you've noticed that, despite your efforts, she doesn't quite reach her peak. Or worse, she has to finish on her own. I understand how frustrating that can be, especially when you, as a mature man, want to give your all but still feel something is missing, even when you try your best. Have you ever wondered why this happens? What does she really need to reach that profound, unforgettable moment of pleasure? Well, today I have the answers you've been searching for. We're going to explore 5 powerful principles that can not only help your partner reach climax but also experience it in a deeper, more exhilarating, and unforgettable way. This isn't a list of quick tips or tricks. It's a deep dive into techniques rooted in years of psychological research, combined with insights from great thinkers who truly understood what drives human desire. These lessons aren't just based on years of experience. They are backed by scientific research from sexologists and psychology experts who specialize in human sexuality. Over the years, I've listened to countless stories from both men and women, just like you, and I now know exactly what works. Welcome to this space of profound respect and insight, where we share wisdom that can transform your relationship and your love life. If this is your first time here, I invite you to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because this kind of content has the power to change how you view intimacy forever. Stay tuned until the end, because after this video, you'll never look at closeness the same way again. Let's dive into the first secret of reaching extreme pleasure. 1. The secret of extreme slowness. Slow and steady. Many men believe that intensity equals pleasure. The faster or stronger the experience, the more satisfied the woman must be. But today, I'm going to reveal something most people don't know. Something that completely changes the game, especially when it comes to mature women. For women, extreme slowness is the key. Imagine this: a mature woman is not looking for a quick, mechanical physical connection. After years of experiencing her body and mind, her responses are different. What she truly craves is something far deeper and more subtle. A feeling of being led to the edge of pleasure while maintaining control over her calm. This is where the concept of slow nitration comes into play, a method that awakens far more intense sensations than any rush. Let me share the story of Letitia, a 52-year-old woman who once shared with me how this practice transformed her private life. For years, Letitia felt something was missing. Even though she had an emotional connection with her partner, their intimacy never brought her to climax. She longed for it but didn't experience it until her partner began practicing the slow approach I'm about to share with you. Letitia discovered a level of pleasure she never imagined possible. She laughed as she confessed, "I had no idea this could feel so good until I realized that my prolonged calmness was what I needed." This concept is backed by psychological research. Ian Kerner, a renowned sex therapist and author of She Comes First, discusses how prolonged physical contact stimulates the brain in ways that quick, intense encounters never can. Women's desires, like a slow-cooking pot, need time to simmer. If you want it to boil over with pleasure, you have to be patient, he says. Neuroscience supports this. Studies on sexual arousal in women show that they respond better when the pace is slower, not just in motion, but in time and anticipation. Extreme slowness allows both the mind and body to synchronize, releasing dopamine and oxytocin, the pleasure and bonding hormones, creating a richer, deeper experience. This idea even traces back to the ancient Greek philosopher Aristippus, who believed that true pleasure isn't something to chase hastily. He argued that joy is sweetest when it is savored slowly. And this remains true today, especially in intimate moments with a mature woman. Extreme slowness isn't just about moving slowly, it's about being present in each moment. It's about tuning into the smallest gestures, the changes in her breathing, and adjusting to her rhythm. It's not passive, it's an active practice of control. Breathing deeply, and sharing moments of connection that will soothe both of your nervous systems and deepen your bond. By being fully present and patient, you allow her body to relax and open up to new sensations. The key isn't about rushing to get somewhere, it's about treating each movement as if it's the final one. The journey is the destination. When you feel the intensity build, surprise her by pausing. This moment of stillness creates a space her body will naturally want to fill. Anticipation amplifies pleasure. And when you finally continue, the experience is heightened. This is where many men make a mistake. They rush through the moment instead of mastering the art of waiting. It's the pause, the patience, and the awareness that transform the experience. Maintaining eye contact is essential. Research by psychologist Arthur Aaron has shown that prolonged eye contact can create a sense of closeness that words cannot. Never underestimate the power of looking into her eyes. As your bodies connect, her emotions intensify, leading to a richer experience in every way. By applying these techniques, you're not just increasing her pleasure, you're forging a deeper emotional connection that goes beyond the physical. Dr. John Gottman, a relationship expert, points out that true intimacy doesn't lie in the actions themselves but in the connection formed by being fully present. For mature women, this presence is more valuable than any gesture or technique. Extreme slowness is not a quick fix, it's a way to transform intimacy into an experience where every second feels more intense. When you practice this, you'll notice her desire expanding and deepening. Letitia told me that after practicing this technique with her partner, every time they used it, she felt the pleasure intensify. It's not just physical, she said. It's like my mind is completely liberated. This is the secret for mature women with all their wisdom and experience. They know when a man is truly present. And that, dear reader, is what they love most, not speed, not strength, but the slow, deliberate pleasure that builds a deeper connection between body and mind. Master this art, and you'll take your partner to a level of joy she's never experienced before. 2. The silent transition. In the realm of intimacy, many men often believe that constant talking or exaggerated sounds are essential for connection and enhancing pleasure. However, what many mature women truly value is the profound power of silence, a space where words fall away, and everything is communicated through presence and subtle gestures. Maria, a 55-year-old woman, once confided in me that the most unforgettable moments in her intimate life occurred in those rare instances when silence enveloped the room. I don't need to hear anything, she told me, because I feel everything when silence takes over. In these moments, her senses become heightened, her mind is freed from distractions, and her body responds to each touch, each movement, with a new intensity. The absence of sound creates a natural tension, a buildup of anticipation that is often lost amid the noise of everyday life. Esther Perel, the renowned psychologist and sex expert, often speaks of mystery as a fundamental element of desire. And nothing fosters mystery like silence. When words are removed, what remains is pure sensation. The focus shifts entirely to the present moment, amplifying the emotional and physical experience. Scientifically, when one sense is minimized, the others become more acute. by lowering the volume of sound. Other senses, like sight and smell, take center stage, enhancing the experience in unexpected ways. For mature women, these quiet moments become a powerful means of rediscovering joy. Let silence speak for itself. By eliminating words, you allow every touch, every glance, every subtle movement to carry more weight, to communicate more deeply. When she senses your complete presence without distraction, the emotional connection intensifies, and the pleasure becomes more profound. True intimacy doesn't require sound, it requires full attention. Silence allows you to tune into her body, her breath, her every small reaction. In these moments, you'll find you can communicate far more without uttering a word. Ultimately, the deepest connection lies in being fully present, and silence is the perfect conduit for this. In the stillness, everything becomes more vivid, her breath, her heartbeat. The energy between you both intensifies. By embracing silence, you're not just reducing noise, you're creating space for a deeper, richer experience. One where words are unnecessary. 3. The stop and observe technique. One of the most powerful and overlooked techniques in intimacy is the art of stopping at just the right moment. Sometimes, the pause itself can be more arousing than any movement. What I'm about to share is a lesser-known but highly effective technique, stopping completely in the middle of the act and carefully observing your partner's reactions. This isn't just about physical sensation, it's a psychological act that creates a deeper connection and enhances her pleasure in unexpected ways. Imagine you're in the midst of an intense, intimate moment, everything flowing smoothly. But instead of rushing toward the inevitable climax, you stop. You remain still. And in that pause, you observe her, her body, her breathing, the subtle tension in her muscles. What's powerful here is that this pause creates a natural build-up. The space you create becomes a zone of heightened anticipation, where her desire intensifies without her even realizing it. It's not an uncomfortable wait, it's a space where she becomes more acutely aware of her own feelings, her body sensations, and your presence. Dr. David Schnarch, an American sex therapist, often speaks about how pausing during intimacy can lead to deeper emotional exchanges. When you stop and observe your partner, you're tuning into her emotions and desires without her needing to vocalize them. For mature women, this type of pause holds profound meaning. It's not just about physical pleasure, but about the undivided attention you're giving her. When you stop, it shows that you care about the details and that you're willing to listen, not with your ears, but with your body, reading what her body communicates in silence. This simple gesture creates an intimacy that's more intense than any constant movement. Moreover, stopping at the peak of pleasure amplifies her sensations. According to sex therapist Barry McCarthy, this pause is one of the core components of desire. When you halt at the height of arousal, both your mind and her body connect in a way that deepens the craving for intimacy. In that stillness, everything becomes more potent, the sound of her breath, the rhythm of her heartbeat. The energy between you both grows almost tangible. So, the next time you're in an intimate moment, don't fear the pause. It's not a sign of hesitation or insecurity, it's a sign of control. By observing every small movement and shift, you'll know exactly when to resume, and how to do it in a way that will make this moment unforgettable for her. In the end, a connection built in stillness is far more powerful than one rushed in haste. Remember, intimacy isn't always about action. Sometimes, it's about presence, And in the quiet, you'll discover a connection that words or constant motion could never achieve. 4. The circle of pleasure, breaking free from linear expectations. One of the most common mistakes men make is thinking about pleasure as a linear path. You begin, move forward, and eventually reach the climax. But today, I'm going to show you something completely different, something that mature women, in particular, truly appreciate. This concept is about breaking free from the rigid, straight-line expectations of pleasure and embracing a more organic, fluid movement, a circular rhythm. This circle of pleasure isn't just about stimulating in a new way. It's also about awakening parts of the body that may have never been explored before. Maria, a 58-year-old woman who has experienced both long-term relationships and fleeting encounters, once shared her perspective with me. Most men think they need to keep a constant rhythm, always moving in one direction, she said. But when someone surprises me with circular movements, my body awakens in a new way. It feels like I've never been touched like that before. Circular motion has a profound impact on a woman's body. A linear rhythm can become predictable and fade over time. But the dynamic flow of circular movements activates different nerve endings, creating a richer, more diverse experience. The body doesn't respond uniformly. Different areas react in unique ways depending on the type of circular stimulation, which involves varying pressure and speed. This kind of pleasure builds in waves, expanding with each touch, something a simple straight-line motion just can't achieve. This is where the philosophy of cyclical pleasure comes into play, a concept explored by therapist Jack Moran in his book The Erotic Mind. Moran suggests that pleasure shouldn't always follow a direct path to climax. Instead, it should involve detours, surprises, and challenges to expectations. This approach not only enhances physical arousal but also creates a deeper mental connection. When a woman feels fully absorbed in the experience, it's no longer just about reaching the destination, but about the journey itself. By practicing circular movements, you communicate that you're not in a rush, that you are there to explore every part of her body, rather than just racing toward an end goal. For many mature women, this is a welcome shift. They've had their share of rushed, mechanical encounters in the past, and now they're seeking something more, a sense of novelty, a feeling of their bodies being rediscovered again and again, even through the simplest gestures. This approach is also grounded in the neuroscience of pleasure. Research shows that the brain reacts more intensely when patterns of stimulation change. Rather than following a repetitive rhythm, different movements send diverse signals to the brain, keeping dopamine levels high and extending the pleasure. This creates a sensation where every touch feels fresh, as if it's happening for the first time, even when it's not. Ultimately, pleasure doesn't have to be a straight line. By breaking free from predictable patterns and daring to explore the circular rhythm of touch, you open the door to new levels of joy for her. Each rotation, each shift in direction, can awaken feelings she didn't even know she had. In this exploration, both of you will discover a deeper, more fulfilling connection, one that's anything but ordinary. Mature women are looking for more than just routine. They want a partner who knows how to explore, someone who can break the monotony and dare to be creative. So, next time, set aside the predictable rhythm and experiment with circular movements, changing speed, pressure, and intensity. Watch her respond, guiding you both to a deeper and more expansive joy. 5. The psychology of incomplete climax, unlocking deeper desire. In many of the greatest tales of intimacy, There's a common belief that everything must end with a big bang, a peak, a climax, as though reaching the summit is the ultimate goal. However, for many mature women, the most exciting part isn't about reaching a predictable conclusion, but rather experiencing the prolonged desire and sustained arousal that lingers after the climax. This is what we call the psychology of the incomplete climax. A few years ago, a woman named Beatrice, aged 57, shared an insight with me that deeply resonated. She said, "My partner used to think that orgasm was the only goal. But when we learned to stop just before reaching that peak, we discovered that the pleasure lasted far longer. It was as though our bodies were in a continuous state of desire." This technique, pausing just before the finish line, creates a tension that doesn't frustrate but actually intensifies desire. Instead of rushing to the end, you leave the experience incomplete, creating a lasting impression that fuels desire in both the body and mind long after the encounter is over. Sexual psychologist and therapist Barry McCarthy explains this in his work on prolonged arousal. He notes that the anticipation of something yet to come can be a powerful source of stimulation. When the climax is held back, the body and mind continue processing that desire. Much like leaving a door slightly ajar, it keeps the excitement flowing, rather than letting it dissipate too quickly. For mature women, who have experienced countless encounters over the years, this approach truly works. It's not about frustrating the body, but about drawing out the pleasure. It leads a bubbling desire that can continue to grow, allowing the intensity to build naturally. This approach activates the mind, turning climax into an emotional experience, not just a physical one. The lingering sensation of an unfinished conclusion keeps the mind alive with longing. This technique isn't just a psychological trick, it's backed by neuroscience. Leaving a cycle unfinished triggers the brain's reward system, maintaining high dopamine levels and extending the sensation of pleasure. Rather than disappearing, pleasure transforms into a current that can last for hours, even days. Amazingly, this also strengthens intimacy and connection between partners. Instead of everything resolving in that single moment, a deeper bond is formed that continues to evolve in your daily lives. Now, this doesn't mean you should always leave things unresolved. The key lies in knowing when to push forward and when to hold back. This technique is especially powerful when both partners are deeply connected and have reached a level of intimacy where words are no longer necessary. In these moments, an incomplete climax can become one of the most precious gifts you can give her. You're not just prolonging desire, you're offering a fresh experience that challenges the usual expectations. Think of it like music. It's not always the final chord that defines the beauty of the melody, but the silence between the notes, the anticipation of what's coming next. For many women, these pauses, these unfinished moments, leave something to look forward to, keeping the joy alive long after the encounter ends. So next time you find yourself in an intense, connected moment, dare to leave something unexplored. Don't rush for a quick ending. Let the desire linger in the air, allowing her body and mind to continue resonating with pleasure even after the experience is over. This is the true magic of the psychology of the incomplete climax, creating an invisible bond that keeps the joy alive longer than you ever thought possible. 6. The reward, oral surrender as complete trust. If you've made it this far, it's because you're committed to deepening your intimate life. That's why I want to share the 6th lesson with you. A reward reserved for those truly ready to explore deeper wisdom. This is a secret many mature women quietly enjoy but may not always feel comfortable admitting: the pleasure of surrendering control completely during oral intimacy. But this isn't just a physical act, It's a profoundly emotional and mental experience for many women, especially those who've spent years navigating life with responsibility and control. There's a surprising joy that comes from fully letting go, without using her hands, allowing herself to be vulnerable and trusting you entirely in the moment. This isn't about aggression or dominance as pop culture might suggest, but rather about experiencing a kind of liberation where control is relinquished in a safe and trusting environment. When engaging in oral surrender in this way, the key is in the gentle, deliberate movements. It's not about speed or pushing boundaries quickly. Instead, it's about the depth of the experience you create, where every sensation feels carefully guided. By removing her ability to control, you introduce a layer of vulnerability that is actually incredibly exciting. After years of managing her life, she can now fully surrender, knowing her pleasure is entirely in your hands. Psychologist David Schnarch describes this kind of surrender as an emotional letting go, where a woman can allow herself to be vulnerable within a safe, trusting connection. This creates a bond that transcends the physical, deepening both the physical and emotional intimacy between you. Oral surrender, in this context, isn't just another intimate act. It's a powerful way to connect on a deeper level. The real secret here is how you control the rhythm. It should be slow, measured, and unhurried. This isn't about pushing for immediate pleasure, but about observing and guiding her reactions, adjusting intensity, and being fully present in the moment. By taking away her control, you unlock the deepest parts of her pleasure, allowing her to experience a level of freedom that many mature women crave, the freedom to let go, to receive, and to feel without overthinking anything. Neuroscience tells us that when a person feels safe surrendering control, their brain releases higher levels of oxytocin, which strengthens emotional bonds and exponentially increases pleasure. This type of surrender isn't forced. It's a voluntary act where she trusts you completely. In that moment, her joy becomes yours to guide. If you truly want to take your intimate connection to new heights, consider practicing this form of oral surrender as a gentle act of mutual agreement. This is not about physical dominance, but creating a space where she can disconnect from everything outside and gift you complete control. In essence, it becomes a shared act of surrender because, when you lead, you're deeply attuned to her needs and desires. This reward is for those who are ready to explore what often goes unsaid. If you dare to apply this wisdom, you'll discover that true pleasure lies in complete surrender. When her body and mind align, you'll be able to guide her to a level of fulfillment that transcends anything you've experienced before. Because, in the end, true intimacy is about mutual surrender, giving and receiving in equal trust and connection. Remember this: intimacy is not just about physical actions, but about how deeply we connect with each other. It's about letting our minds and experiences guide every gesture, every whisper, and every pause. Mature women, with all they have experienced in life, are seeking something more than just the obvious. They long for a connection based on trust, surrender, and a shared desire to explore a richer, more fulfilling intimate life together. Today, we've explored different ways to foster that connection through slowing down, embracing the power of silence, awakening desire with circular movements, breaking the monotony, leaving things unfinished, and surrendering completely, especially during oral intimacy. These aren't just techniques, they're gateways to deeper connections, allowing both partners to rediscover each other in new ways. One thing I want you to remember is that everything we do in intimacy mirrors the quality of our relationship outside of it. Every small change in how we approach our partner, every gesture of understanding, and every shared discovery enriches our lives in all aspects. My name is Celia, and I hope this space becomes a place of wisdom where we can openly discuss these important topics with respect. Let's move beyond the surface and dive into the often unsaid nuances of life together. I want us to find ways to improve not only our intimate lives but everything we do, because every small act of understanding and reflection shines in us, bringing more happiness and fulfillment. If this is your first time here, I invite you to subscribe and turn on notifications. You will want to miss the upcoming discussions. I promise they'll not only surprise you but also help you understand the complexity of the emotions that make us human. If you've made it this far, it's because you're committed to your own growth, and I want to acknowledge that. Let me know you're here by commenting "I love wisdom" and tell me where you're listening from. I'd love to know who's joining me on this journey. And before you go, don't forget to share this video with someone who might need a fresh perspective on intimacy. Sometimes, a simple reflection can make all the difference in someone's life. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue to explore life-changing secrets that can transform your world.